First, first of all, I would like to thank our emergency moderator and the audience for an excellent discussion, because indeed we covered all the issues, including equity, ethics, global financial governance, and it all started from financial adaptation. Just to clarify one possible misunderstanding, because I fully agree with other panelists, that we have to have a combination of increased ODA and new and additional resources. I think there is no disagreement on this, and what I was trying to say is that as new resources for climate are becoming available, it should not be at the cost of conventional development assistance. Both streams are extremely important. Clearly, as I said, that development in hostile climate often costs more. And clearly, this cost should not come as loans. They should not come as an increase in indebtedness for poor countries. They should be provided through grants and other and corresponding means. But to address to some points, but to make these grants effective, what we find from working with GAF and Special Climate Change Fund, that very often it helps to access those grants and to use them more effectively is if it's a part of a broader development assistance program in a country. Through which it's possible to facilitate institutional development, build capacity, enable countries to better use additional new instruments, whether it's CDM or adaptation financing. And finally, I fully agree that the issue of new additional instruments is not only additional finance, not only issue of grants, it's an issue of governance. And this is actually at the core of why there is so much request for developing countries for new type of mechanisms. And just to give an example, that the climate investment funds, including the pilot program for climate resilience, have quite a unique governance structure because they have balanced representation of countries who put money in potential recipients of this these funds, and decisions are made by consensus. So each country effectively has a veto power, including recipient countries, and this may not be yet an ideal model, but it's certainly a step in the right direction, and I think that learning lessons from how the governance structure of this new instrument operates will be very important.
Wonderful, thank you. Last word.
4 very short points. Good news is that adaptation is now very high on the agenda. For years we have been talking of mitigation, but now adaptation is back, and this is good news. 2, mix of ODA and innovative source of financing. I agree with that. On ODA, it means respecting commitments taken in Gleneagles or in Monterey on the increase of ODA, including the European Union, by the way. 3, necessity, like in Bangladesh, by the way, to mainstream adaptation in all the strategies of the countries. In Bangladesh, it works because they did that. But this is not enough. Necessity to reach the poor farmer in Mali I was mentioning. And in Mali, they have a policy of decentralization, very ambitious policy. And when I saw the Minister of Finance, I said, but why these people in the field, the local authorities, have no resource, no means to implement the administrative decentralization? And he said, because I don't trust them. So that's the whole story of how can you reach people in the field. 4, to deal with adaptation outside the Paris agenda or the Accra agenda for action is not an option. We must implement adaptation and adaptation financing according to the aid effectiveness agenda, meaning ownership, meaning alignment, meaning division of labor, and meaning, of course, wide consultation of all the stakeholders, including, by the way, the media.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our session. I'm not going to attempt to summarize it, but a few things jump out at me. One, I didn't expect this conversation to be about ethics, but we're saying we need a stable and ethic financing system. 2, we're saying that, I love what you said, is that you know, in a way, climate change, adapting to climate change is about development in a hostile environment. But let's hold on to the development aspect of this. You can't treat climate change and adaptation to climate change as a separate thing, and the mechanisms and the governance need to relate to the same as for, you know, economic growth and poverty reduction and development objectives overall. I think we're also saying that we've got to have mechanisms that deliver, that make the money work, and those mechanisms have got to be well governed, both at the global level and at the national level. The farmer in Mali, the lady getting the water in Namibia cannot be hostage either to a dysfunctional government or to a dysfunctional and unethical global governance arrangements. And we've got a big problem there because it doesn't seem to be, not so much at the national level, but at the international level, does not seem to be working in favor of the least developed countries right now. We're also saying that there needs to be additional resources as well as commitment to delivering on the existing commitments. One thing we didn't get into is whether we should let 1,000 flowers bloom in terms of all these adaptation funds, or whether there needs to be a slight consolidation, because it is quite confusing, actually. It must be even more confusing for those who are trying to get hold of the money. You know, all these competing international initiatives. We're saying that there's a big role for the private sector, with caveats. But we're also saying that the private sector isn't just corporations, it's also social entrepreneurs. It's small and medium-sized enterprises, it's people in countries who are trying to get stuff done, who recognize a legitimate business opportunity in reducing the cost of goods and services to poor people in a way that allows them to, you know, adapt or to reduce the cost of energy or become energy providers rather than energy consumers, which is a big challenge. And then I think we're also saying, last and definitely not least, Daniel, is that the role of communication and media is absolutely fundamental. And as I said, I think it's a two-way thing. It's not just about getting messages out, it's about learning and getting messages back in. And that too is a challenge, because there's an awful lot of people out there who are not on the global media network. Thank you very much. Please forgive me for being slightly provocative as a moderator. That's my job. I love you all. This session is ended. Thank you.